Alright, hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA, getting a little bit of a late start. Who's watching? So, don't have a pre-prepared topic as usual, usually just talk off the top of my head, but anyways, got a lot going on, got a lot of irons in the fire, making a new app, also working on a second app that's for it's going to be for real estate, and I intend to give it away to all my subscribers when it's ready. It's going to be cool because it's going to give you a lot of the tools that I have at my disposal. So if you just got in, I see the numbers going up here. I'm creating an app, and I've been working on one app right now. I've probably spent $300,000 on this app, and over a period of about 2.5 years. It's a very slow process. It's very painful financially and time because I'm not very patient. But I'm also, in the meantime, intend to make another new app. And I've already got somebody working on it a little bit, and that one I'm going to give to all my subscribers, and maybe it'll be ready here in about 5 or 6 weeks, but you guys are going to love it. But what I'm going to do is everybody that's subscribed at the time that that's ready, I'll be just giving it to you. There won't be any, it'll be free. So anyways, anybody got any deals going, or anybody got any questions about anything? One of the reasons I'm kind of running late right now is I had somebody, a friend of mine, that wanted to talk about, he's got some deals going. All right on, Chaz. Yeah, you're going to love it, Chaz. I can't give too much details because there is some, obviously I like to keep things quiet until I have things totally done, but it's cool, man. It's cool. And I'm looking forward to getting it in the hands of everybody that knows me, and then you guys can start using it, and you'll be able to really. I think I already know how damn cool it is, but it'll be neat. So it's kind of nice, the more money you got, the more electives you can have and do stuff like this. And so I feel very, grateful that that I can afford to play around like this, but also eventually too, when I have this other app that really has nothing to do with real estate, that is a big one. That one I'm actually planning on making a pile of money on, and but that'll also be shared with you too. But that one is still got a lot of work to do. So check it out. So this guy, a friend of mine, asked me at dinner. He wanted me to hear him out on some real estate. He's just starting. I mean, he owns some assets. He has some assets. He's about 50 something, and but he hadn't been nearly as aggressive as, like, say, me and other people. But he wants to be more aggressive, and he was wanting to more know about how I do it. And so I was telling him same thing I tell you guys. I was telling him, and but he was telling me is, it's interesting. So he's got a deal where he's got a chance to buy a property, and it's one that has, involves, I don't want to give too much away, but he's in a good position where he might be the first one there, and he might get a good crack at it. So, and that's one that he can flip. It is a house type property. So then he's got another situation where he's got some commercial property that he considers in an area that's just about to break and be really great. So I told him, I said, well, that's speculating. And so he was asking me to kind of analyze his deals. So let me tell you what he's got. He's got one commercial property that has a little house on it. And now I say that it's zoned commercial. It's not being utilized commercial. But it has a little house on it. And what he's talking about buying it for is, like about, say $85,000, something like that. Not a lot of money. And so, in his mind, he's thinking, oh, maybe I buy this, borrow some money, and scrape the house and build a place. And so the first thing I asked him, I says, well, look, if I was going to buy a piece of commercial property like that, and I have bought some like that, I don't do anything. That's when you can just let sit. Now, I'm not a speculator, I like to buy and just flip. So I'll come back. But what I like about it is, I told him, I said, look, buy that $85,000 commercial property, clean up the house, and just rent the house, because the house will cover the nut to cover the mortgage. So that's when you can. That's kind of cool when you can get something like that. You buy something like that that's a little bit speculative, and I've done that. I bought properties that has like a couple of houses on it that's commercial, and that's what he's got. He's got commercial property with the house on it. I said, buy it, clean it up, just rent the house, and just sit on that thing and let the town grow up around it, and next thing you know, the property will be worth scraping the house and building on. And one of the first things I asked him, I said, now, is that commercial property, is it on the going home side of the road? Now, if you listen to me long enough, you know that's real important. When it comes to commercial properties, especially in areas that aren't super busy, it's the properties on the going home side of the road. So whatever way people go to work, or wherever the work is, the plant, the city, the town, whatever, people head that way. Well, when they're coming back, it's those commercial properties that they're passing that are on the right-hand side are going to be the ones that do the best. The ones that are on the right-hand side, because you have time to stop. You do more things after work. You get drinks. You pick up something from the store, whether it's a hardware store or whatever. People generally do that at the end of the day, after work. They don't have time. Stores aren't open in the morning. So, unless it's like a breakfast place, and you can only have so many of those on the going to work side of the road, unless it actually is a business that you're going to go to work at. But I'm talking about like little commercial, businesses and buildings and stuff like that. And I even noticed in a little town where I'm investing right now too, is if you go through there and everything on the right hand side as you come into town, which is you're coming into town, but you're coming from a bigger town. That's the going home side of the road. Everything looks good, everything's full. But you look across the street on the going to work side of the road, and it's maybe 50-60% occupied, a lot of vacancy on that side, and all but one building was full on the right. And I'm talking about out of about 30, 40, 50, maybe 40 businesses, say, I would say 30 of them are on the right-hand side of the road and occupied working. The other side, not so much. So always be aware of that, and because you might think you're getting a great deal, or you just be surprised. It'll open your eyes up if you look at that. So I got a question here. Let's see, Chris Johnson. My 20-year-old son has a deal on the table for 25 properties at 3.5 of course. He doesn't have 3.5. Are you talking about 3.5 million? He wants to buy and hold the income. Any suggestions on finding funding? Well, I mean, finding the money's easy, to be honest, Chris. I mean, if he can tie it up, when you say 25 properties, look, my email is tom@FlipAnythingUSA. I don't really evaluate, but if you have something that's a really great deal and you get it tied up, I might even be interested in buying it, and I'll give you a bird dog fee. But really, what I would do, I don't know, what city are you in? Or don't tell me what city, just tell me what state you're in, Chris. Okay, well, you're in New York. Well, are you upstate, or where are you at? Go ahead and tell me where you're at. It ain't gonna matter, New York. Are you near Manhattan, or where are you at? Probably ain't near Manhattan, not for 3.5 million. Upstate, okay. Yeah, I don't know. You just got to look at the numbers. I mean, if you can get them for 3.5 million, is the property making, $500,000 a year? Or what is it making? Okay, so that's net. See, Chris says he can get it for 3.5 million. So you got a 10 cap on that, assuming that there's a vacancy rate and everything else. You're bringing in net $350,000 a year. I mean, if I could, I would buy a building for $3.5 million right now if it had a stable $350,000 a year coming in. I would consider that. I mean, I used to only consider stuff I can get like a 15% cap on, but something like that, it's tougher to do right now. If I had the money burning a hole in my pocket, I would buy that, and but it'd have to be near me. I wouldn't buy that because it's in New York, but that's a good deal. If you could make it a little bit better deal, it'll be easier. I mean, if it's just for sure a clean 10% cap, and maybe there's room to improve it a little bit, or get or maybe raise the rents. Look at the leases that are in place. Maybe there's room to bump the rents up a little bit, or maybe they're gonna bump anyways, and it's in the lease. You got to take a look at that, and if they are, then that's something you can go to an investor once you get it tied up first of all, and get yourself 2 or 3 month escrow to buy it. Then go find your find somebody that's got the money, and you can go ahead and send it. I'm limited on time. I'll tell you right now, I'm limited on time, but I'll look at it, and I won't share it with anybody, so it'll be safe. I'll look at it and see what I think. In the short amount of time I'll probably be able to look at it. But the bottom line is, if it's got a real stable 10% return and potential for more, I think you're in a good position where you can turn it to somebody and get a nice finder's fee, maybe get $50,000 or something. If you can't close it yourself, you might as well just get a little piece of the action. I would certainly pay that if it was near me right now. Sure. So, I don't know. What is any? I need a question, guys. My brain. I don't even want to. I mean, I can tell you. I can think of some topics. I was just talking about the other real estate deal. The other deal that this friend of mine has. He's got a house that looks like he's in a position. Like I said, I just told him, just stay close to the people that have the power to sell it, and tie it up, get it. Okay, any credit suggestions on what I should share on my YouTube channel? Not being a mentor, of course. Let's see. Oh. Chaz, I mean, I would just say be careful sharing exactly what you're doing in your immediate area, because, if you're doing this on your Facebook, everybody knows who you are, knows where you live, and they could start, interfering with your deals, or start looking at the same properties that you're looking at in certain neighborhoods. So I wouldn't even do it if I were you, to be honest. I'm not quite in the same situation you are, you know what I mean? I'm kind of doing this as a hobby, and I kind of already got what I want, and although I'm still careful, you can see I'm still careful, but it's not a Facebook, and it's not going out to all my friends and all that sort of thing. So and I don't even keep a Facebook for that matter. But if you want to share some stuff, I mean, just kind of share the stuff that nobody can spoil for you. I mean, that's what I would do. Just share the stuff that won't come back to bite you, because that'll be painful. You put it out there what you're doing, and then all of a sudden somebody takes one out from under you because you gave them the great idea, and now they're your competition. So that's what I would say about that. And I know, because I've been the guy that's woke up to, wow, this area is great, and all of a sudden I'm competing with people that they just wish I wasn't in the area buying up stuff. So let's see. We got MJ's got something here. When are you taking us on a neighborhood tour of the property? Yeah. Well, I already tried. I got the outtakes. We hopped in my BMW. I had a buddy of mine driving. I had my kids in the back, and I took off with the drone and started driving down the street and started following us, and started to identify some of my properties. And then I thought, I'll cut across here, and we took away, and I was shortcutting the drone, lost radio contact. So I lost contact with the drone, and we're like, oh no. And so fortunately it's a smart drone. Kind of went back to my home, and there it was sitting in the driveway. It landed itself. And so then took off again and tried to do it again, and got a little bit out of reach, and all of a sudden it was flying itself back again. And then I got radio contact before it landed, and I grabbed it and I took it back up in the air, And anyways, so the tour will be from the air, but I have to go back to the drawing board. So yeah, go ahead. What's your question? Waiting on a question from MJ. Anybody else, you got a question, man? Just fire away. No. Well, MJ, you're making the assumption that I would do that, I guess. I have, trying to think. I don't know that I've actually done that exactly. MJ's question, I don't know if you guys can even see it. He wrote, how do you get over the guilt of buying a property that's occupied and having to evict the current dwellers? Let me tell you, just off the top of my head, the only people I've ever evicted is when I bought a property where they were already behind in their rent and they're not paying their bills. And I have zero guilt evicting anybody that does not pay their bills. And I have done that. I've evicted people that don't pay their bills. No guilt, no problem whatsoever, because that's a priority. There, if you don't make your over your head, the roof over your head a priority, then I'm not going to make it mine. If you can't make it your own to cover your own head, don't look to me to make it my priority, because it's not going to happen. So, but in the instances where I bought properties where there's somebody already in there renting them, in all honesty, I just let them stay there and let them rent. And I don't necessarily raise their rent up to full market. I look at them as a tenant, and I see if they take care of the property, I'll let them. I mean, I rent to tenants now. I give them a very good break, and they'll be under market just because they keep their house cleaner than my own. People that take care of the property, they're an asset. I'll let somebody slide $300 or $400 a month sometimes if they really take good care of the home, because I don't have to worry about them tearing the place up. So if I buy a property that's got a good tenant, the tenant's gold, they just stay. It's not a problem. And usually, like I say, I'm buying a property so reasonably, it's not like I have to get every cent out of it because I'm buying it under market in general, and so I can afford to let them stay at a cheaper rate. So that's what I do. And again, like I said, if they're deadbeat, I'll no problem evicting them. So I got another one from Pamela. Let's see. When first got started, did you use bandit signs or direct mail, or do you use either today? Okay, so good question. I've never used a bandit sign in my life. The only bandit sign, and I wouldn't call it a bandit sign, is I put a for sale by owner sign or a for rent by owner sign in the front yard. That's as much signs as I use. I don't nail them to the poles or any of that other stuff. Direct mail, yes, I have direct mailed neighborhoods. I've direct mailed almost a whole town before. I haven't done much of it. I've done some lately. I guess I've done a little bit, not too long ago. But to be honest, the majority of my deals that I get are, if you watch enough of my stuff, it's usually I keep my eyes open. I can see if a property is neglected or run down. That's an indication that somebody doesn't care about their asset. And when somebody doesn't care about their asset, it's a good chance they're going to sell it under market anyways. The other thing is, if I see a for sale sign pop up, or like the other day, and maybe I'll buy this, who knows? If I see an estate sale or a garage sale, I go to the garage sale. I'm kind of a picker anyways. I like to look around and see if there's anything cool. But the main reason I stop at a garage sale to say, are you selling the place? Or I'm asking, do you own the place? Or, it's an opportunity for the seller to sell because somebody's moving out. A lot of times, the garage sale, the people that are moving out are the owners. Not every time, but so anyway, I hope that kind of answers some of your questions. You can ask more. Chris, do you do much owner financing deals? I've financed deals that I've sold many times. I'll take a first. I'll take a second. Also, when I buy, I look for owner financing when I can. I think there's a lot of great opportunities. I think I used to do it a lot I mean, a whole lot when I was younger, because I couldn't get a loan. I was too young. I didn't have the credibility or the income to back up, the credibility, like I said. So owner financing was kind of my only choice there for a while if I was going to buy it. Otherwise, I'd have to go get a partner that could borrow money and get a loan. And so those are your options right now. If you don't have great credit, then you either need owner financing or you need somebody else that can actually go get a loan. So, but there's a lot of good deals for opportunities, I think, for owner financing right now. And the reason I say that is because you don't get any money right now. I mean, I got some money in the bank, and the interest, I don't even think about it. It's nothing. It's less than 1%. But so if I was going to sell a property and I was going to put all my cash in the bank, I know I'm not going to get anything for it. So I might be more inclined to, if I was going to put, say, $200,000, $300,000 or $100,000, whatever, in the bank, $50,000, it doesn't matter. If I was going to sell something and put it in the bank and I plan on keeping it there, I would rather owner finance a deal, finance something for somebody, and let them pay me 4%. So you just, 4%, on $50,000, that's $2,000, a year, as opposed to, getting $500 a year from the bank. So, look for owner financing. Always a good move. And what I just explained to you, that's exactly what you should explain to the buyer, or I'm sorry, the seller, the person that you want to, to create a note. And, it's going to be secured by a deed of trust, the property. So they're going to be secure. And I think if you talk to them well, you'll be able to sell that idea. I've done it many, many times. It's really kind of a no-brainer. But they have to trust that you're not going to destroy the property, and because that's what everybody worries about. They don't want to have to foreclose, take a property back, and I've had to do that too. Although usually what's happened before I foreclose, they'll usually just sign it over to me. And I had one time I had a guy I sold the property to. Actually, here's a good story. This is a really good story. So I had a guy. I won't say his whole name, but his name was Jamshid. He was a Iranian guy, and wheeler dealer, doing well. Things were great, and we'd done a couple deals, and he actually owed me 10 grand. We made a deal, and he was supposed to pay me 10 grand. Well, he never paid me, and he never paid me. I kind of handed him a deal without asking for money. He never paid me, and so I was irritated that he didn't give me my 10 grand. And I called him and I said, "Hey, man, where's my 10 grand? I'm kind of getting tired of waiting." And he says, "I'm not going to give you 10 grand. You've already made all this money on these other deals we've done." And I'm like, I'm not, we had an agreement. You need to give me that 10 grand. But he's like, "I'm not going to do it." And so now we were in the middle of a deal. He was buying something from me already. He was paying something. He was buying it for, I think he was buying it for $520,000. He was buying something from me already for $520,000. And he had a 90 days, and really, listen, this is a good story. He had a 90-day escrow. So he had 90 days from the time we signed to the day to pay me off. And he was notorious for, anything he buy, he always closed on the very last day. And so I finally said, "Okay, fine. I'll get that 10 grand from you somehow." And so what happened was, he had a 90-day escrow. So but what happened was like he bought it on the 20th of April, and so so April, May, June, July. So he expected to close on July 20th. So April 20th to say July 20th. What he hadn't realized is that there was a month in there in between that had 31 days. So he just thought, "Oh yeah, from the 20th to the 20th, 90 days, assuming all months have only 30 days. Well, we had one that had 31 days. So I waited till the 90th day, and then he still hadn't put his money in, and he's going to close it like the next morning, because the next morning's the 20th. It's the 91st day. I know that, but he thinks it's the 90th day. And so that morning, I was waiting. As soon as they opened their doors, I gave him a note, and I said, "This escrow is canceled. The buyer has defaulted or breached their contract, and it is null and void, and I'm not going to I'm not gonna sell. And so anyways, I effectively canceled the escrow, and then they called him and told him, and he was coming in with his check, and he's like, he's just beside himself. And so I said, hey man, you didn't make your deal. And I said, so let's talk about that 10 grand you owe me. And so I don't remember exactly. I think I might have even made him pay a little bit more, but I for sure made him pay me that other $10,000, and he never tried to pull anything like that on me again. Of course, I never trusted him to let him do anything like that to me again. But contracts mean something. You got to watch your contracts. I could go to court on that one, no problem. He broke his contract. So anyways, it was fun. So what else? I got a question from Chloe. I've come across quite a few distressed properties where the owner is obviously overextended. Is there a solution for this I can offer, or just best just to let it go? I don't know what you mean, Chloe. If the properties are distressed, I mean, that's not a problem. What's a problem is if he owes more on the properties than they're worth. I mean, if you can buy one of those at 70 cents on the dollar or 60 cents on the dollar, then buy it. But if he still wants, I mean, I don't know exactly what you mean. If the owner's distressed or if the property's distressed, I mean, it's just math. You got to factor in how much work it's going to take to fix it up, and then you got to factor in that you're in this business to make money and to have a profit. And if you plan on, like I said, I'm not a big speculator, so if you decide you're going to hang on to them, you want to have a pretty good margin, so if values start to drop, you have time to bail and sell it before it drops so far down that it's what you paid for it. Or you can let it drop down and keep hanging on to it because, you've got such a nice margin there that you're comfortable keeping it. You've got a little hedge there. But I think that is the best I can tell you, knowing as much as you've shared. But yeah, it's the economy's doing pretty good overall. Let's see, follow up here. Right, they may owe more than the property is worth or going prices in that area. I suppose most likely they would. Well, you don't know until you ask. You got to ask. I mean, if they've owned the property for 20 years, it's probably paid for, unless they refied. And if they refied, they probably never were able to pull 100% of the value out. So even if somebody refied a property, that's no problem because they probably only gave them 70 cents on the dollar anyways. So it may be something that you could, pull them out of their problem, save their credit, and still have, 30% there to make it worth your while. But yeah, I'm actually planning on going. I thought I was going, but it looks like I might be going to California instead of Hawaii again. I actually have some friends. Actually, a good buddy of mine died a week or two ago, and suddenly, and not totally unexpectedly, but I also have a sick elderly friend I've known since very young, and they're not doing so well too. So I may just go to California. Yep, thanks. Like I say, it happens and it's not unexpected. But anyways, and I was telling the same gentleman earlier today, I was talking to, I said, man, there's always going to be another deal. Don't get so wrapped up. Sometimes you get a thing that it looks like such a great deal, and you can already, almost counting the money already, and and you're concentrating on it, and you got to be careful not to concentrate too much on one deal. I mean, don't lose sight of it. Always concentrate on what you're doing. Don't let a deal slip between your fingers. But at the same time, go find another deal. Keep looking for another deal, because so many times what happens is, oh, I got a great deal. It looks so sure, like I'm going to get it, and then I don't get it. But what I've always done is, even though I'm concentrating, like, oh, I can't wait, I'm already thinking about the money I'm going to make, well, then I'm looking for other deals. Then I get another one tied up. And then maybe I have 2 or 3 great deals tied up, and the one that I was sure was going to close and everything was going to be great, something falls apart and I don't get it. And then the one that was the shakiest, turns out to be the best. All of a sudden it turns out to be the best. So it's very important that you're always looking. Always looking. And and like this guy asked me, he said, well, Tom, he goes, look, I know you own all this and that stuff. He goes, are you just a phenom? He goes, is it just easy? Is it everything just second nature? And I said, well, yeah, it is a lot of it second nature, but really it's not just second nature, I'm relentless. And that's what I said, man, I'm relentless. He goes, I could be on a date and I will pull over and I will write down that phone number. I will, if I see a sign laying over and laying down, and I think there's a sign laying down on its face, I'll pull over, I'll get out of the car. I don't care what I'm wearing, how clean I am or not. I'm going to go find out the phone number on that sign that's laying on the side. And I'll scrape it off in, dirt or whatever, and I'll, write down that phone number, and I will call on it. And if I don't call that night, I'll call the next morning. And that's the difference. You gotta want it. You gotta want it. And that means you're gonna pull over even though there's a cold beer waiting. You're gonna go pull over, you're gonna walk over, might be hot outside, you're gonna get that number. And if you look over and you think somebody's home or somebody you can talk to, or if you think there's something worth looking at, you're gonna just go and look over and look or talk or whatever you gotta do. It's not easy, and it's not like it's just like I say, it's not like I'm just gifted. I'm not. I work, and I do things that most people won't do. I'll knock on the door, I'll write the letter, I'll pull over, I'll ask questions, I'll dig into records, and I will call, and I will try to get my deal through. And if you don't work hard, you're not going to win. And that's it. In fact, I'll give you an example. I just hired a guy today. This is a guy that is like a professional at what he does. And I've been using his services, but I've been paying for him through an agency for the services he does. So he was costing me a lot. A lot, like lawyer level money, okay? And I found out he no longer works where he's working. So I immediately called him. Immediately I called him. And I said, hey, what are you doing? Why didn't you tell me how come I don't know you lost your job or did you quit? And he said, well, no, I'm interviewing now. I said, man, come on right now. Come on over. And he says, well, can I come tomorrow morning? I go, no, man, no, just come now. I said, come right now. I want to talk to you. And so very reluctant. And this is why he was reluctant. And I knew why he was reluctant. He'd already applied for 3 other jobs, big name companies, big names. And he was hoping one of them would call. And I'm like, come on. I said, look, it's getting lunchtime. Let me buy you lunch. So I get him to come over. We go to lunch. We have a nice conversation. I romance him into, coming to work for me. We make a deal. We shake hands. He works for me now. And, maybe one of those big 3 companies that he was waiting for, maybe they called, maybe they didn't call. Real smart guy. But, the bottom line is, if I'd have waited till tomorrow morning, or, he might have gotten a call that evening at 5 o'clock and taken that job. And then I'm out. So I understand that, and remember this because I say it all the time. Time kills deals. Time kills deals. So never think you got time. You want to get things buttoned up and done. And like I said, I made a deal with this guy, and in all honesty, I think if one of those big 3 companies had called that night, he might have just called me and said, Tom, sorry. But what happened was we made our deal, and the first thing I did is I said, all right, man, let's go to the Mac store, let's get you some hardware. Bought him a big giant screen for his Mac and bought him a new Mac, and because I'm serious. I want you to go to work, you got a job, and I'm showing him that I care, and I do care. And I'm hoping to make him a lot of money, because if I make him a lot of money, it means I'm going to make a lot of money too. So Again, it's not exactly what I was talking about, but the bottom line is if you don't jump on a deal, if you're not the first one to call and get there, somebody else is going to take it away from you. I apply it to everything I do. I wanted this guy to come work for me. He's a great asset, and I got him tied up and and to agree to come work for me before a more attractive employer came along and took him. So that's what I have to say about that. So what other we got? Where do you start when you have little money to invest? It's the same. Listen, I wouldn't do much different than I do day in and day out right now than I would if than I do anyways, and I have money. So the reason I say is because I don't have a deal. That's what you need, is a deal. And if you don't have money, it's just like the guy that wrote in earlier, this $3.5 million deal for 25 properties that throws off $350,000 a year. I mean, man, that's already a pretty sweet deal right there. I'd like to make it better, but that's a pretty sweet deal. This guy, hopefully some of what I told, I'm sorry, I can't see your name now, but whoever that was in New York, what he's doing. He found a great deal on some properties. He just needs to get them tied up and, maybe get some sort of commitment. Maybe even if there's not a lot of money involved, just get some sort of commitment that gives you time before you have to come up with some money. And then you go find somebody like me that's probably in your area, not somebody far away. And then, talk them into, it was Chris. So, like Chris said, and, so you wouldn't do anything different. You really wouldn't do anything different. The only thing I'd say that might be a little bit different if you don't have any money is, and I even do this still too, is if I find something cool that's worth, a lot, or worth a lot more than I'm not talking just anything, but I mean, if I found something that's worth $1,000 I can buy for $200, I'll buy it, and I'll sell it for $800 and make $600. That's something that's within everybody's range. I think everybody can find a couple $100, borrow it from mom or whatever. I mean, to buy something that's worth $1,000 and flip it. And that's your seed capital. And just keep building that seed, because don't just you make $1,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 or $100,000. Don't go blow it. Don't blow it. That now you got this big seed that could grow into something very, very big, and now you've got the flexibility to take a little bit more chances. In other words, you could buy something that maybe you think is a little bit speculative, and you can hold it because you buy it and you go, well, I got 50 grand in the bank, I can use as a cushion. Things start to go down, or if somebody moves out, or I can deal with a vacancy while I'm trying to sell this and get more money, instead of feeling like, I got to turn it because nobody's offering me enough. You'd have a little more comfort in your heart because you have 50,000 in the bank, and then you can go, okay, you don't have to take the lowest offer. You can hold out a little bit because you got power, because you got money. And so anyways, I hope that answers your question. The main thing is, rich or broke, you're looking for a deal, and the guy that has money, the only advantage he has is he has money. But if you've got the deal, now you've got the advantage, and you can make a deal with him, and you'll both make money. What else? Oh, I see. Oh, somebody's asking about Grant Cardone. I like Grant. I can't say I don't know him yet well enough, but I like what I see. I do like what I see, but I can't say I'm a big fan. I don't know him well enough, to be honest. I don't know him at all, but I've watched his couple programs, and I was just saying he sounds like the real deal. He's definitely had some experience, for sure. It comes through. You can't fake experience. That's the beauty. And when somebody's talking, I think everybody kind of can, who's Grant? Grant Cardone is who he's referring to. And but I talked about him the other day. I just saw a thing. Didn't really agree with him exactly the advice he was offering, but we all have different experiences. So, But anyways, but yeah, I do. I like what was coming out of his mouth, and in those two shows or one show that I watched. And I've never read one of his books. I don't know any of that stuff, so I can't recommend the books because I haven't read anything. I don't know. But I would say check him out. Check him out. You go check out and watch anybody that motivates you, anybody that keeps you on point is a plus. You know what I mean? It's a plus. There's even some phony guys out there that are repeating good information that can keep you inspired, to be honest. But I don't think anything beats real experience. And a lot of people they refer to what I do as kind of a raw thing, and it is pretty raw. Obviously, I turn on the camera and I talk and I'm done. And I don't worry about any slick stuff. But I can tell you that I'm telling you just straight from the heart exactly what I've done and or what I would do, and it's kind of fun for me, and it's actually pretty neat because sometimes I'll remember deals that I'd long forgotten, and you guys I think agree. There's always some sort of lesson in there somewhere, and so it's kind of neat because the lessons I've learned, you're kind of learning about them, from me now, and I never had anybody be able to tell me all the things that I'm telling you, so I assume that's a big advantage. But I know it is. But you got to believe it. But the only way you're really going to believe it is you got to put things into action. You got to make a deal happen, because once you have a deal and you have, you reap the rewards. I mean, man, all of a sudden you're sold. Man, this is real. And then it's like I've lost a few deals. I've lost quite a few deals, and it's painful. It's painful when you lose a deal that's a lot of money to you. Like, let's just say you let something slip between your fingers. If you don't have much money, or let's just say you're only worth $1,000 or zero, and you let something slip between your fingers that the Compton story. I'm gonna save that one, man. But I appreciate you mentioning that. That's an interesting story. But what I was gonna say is, if a deal slips between your fingers, that could be like a life changer. Like, gee, I could have made 20 grand or 10 grand, and it's like, that really hurts. If it's something that really could have made a big difference to you. But the good news is that when a big deal gets away from you and you've already are somewhat established, it's like, ouch. It's not, it's just like, ouch, damn it. Or me, I take it personally, just like, because I'm supposed to be the best. And I demand that of myself. I think I'm the best. And I've been so good at it. And so some things that I can attribute to being my fault, I take it personally. Like if I didn't call the night before and I felt like calling the night before, but I said, I'm tired, and then I lose it because I didn't call the night before, it upsets. There's nothing worse than me being upset with myself, because I don't forgive myself. So it's very painful. But anyhow, let's go back to the question here. Let's see. MJ, I have a very interesting Compton story, but I gotta save it. I gotta save that one for now. It's one I'll do. I'll just make that the show. It is cool, but I'll promise I'll get to it eventually, but not tonight for sure. So Pamela, my question was, what do you think of Cardone's concept of rent where you live, and own what you can rent? Yeah. Certainly it's good. I don't believe in rent where you live. Okay, do this, Pamela. I have a video. It's called $1 Million Profit Re-Renting, or Re-Renting $1 Million Profit, or something like that. It's RE-renting. Look that up in my videos and watch that when we're done here. And you'll see why I think renting can be great, but not for the reasons Grant said. Grant was talking about renting a house that he was talking about renting a house, a $17 million home. He was renting it for 10 days. I mean, that's a vacation rental, okay? Of course. Don't buy a $17 million vacation rental. But if you're talking about a home that you live in, and I think he said he rents in the homes that he lives in, but I don't know, maybe he's on the road so much he can justify that. But for me, if you can afford a home, and the home, if you got to spend $1,000 a month to rent, or you got to spend $1,000 a month on a mortgage, and you plan on living there, and you got kids that you want to go into that school district and all that other stuff, you don't want to rent. I mean, because what you're talking about is if you're renting, a landlord can say, get out. And then what? You got your kids that are made their friends in the neighborhood, and and you got your buddies in the neighborhood, let's say, and now you have to leave. But his point was, if you can rent a home for far less than you would have to pay for, in a mortgage, then that's a good deal. Yeah, and I suppose if you could live somewhere for $300 a month, as opposed to paying $600 on a mortgage, or much more than that relative to that, that might make sense. But owning a home and living in a home is a privilege. But if it's kind of a wash, and like I say, you got kids and a school and a good school district and neighbors and friends and family nearby, I mean, that's got a lot of value too, right? And every time I love my place. I can probably take a dip in that pool as soon as I get off this little cast. And I wouldn't want somebody to be able to say, hey, you know what, we're not going to renew your lease. You got to look for somewhere else to move. I wouldn't want to do that. So that's what I think of that. But back to the renting. I have a building I was renting for like $3,000 a month, and I was renting it out because I had the right to re-rent, sublet. I was re-renting it for ultimately $25,000 a month. But on average, I made $20,000 a month, which is $240,000 a year, okay? And I'm making that rental income on a property that I do not own. It's just one that I am renting and then re-renting. So I don't even know anybody that has as good a story as mine on that, to be honest. That's a really good one. So be sure to watch that if you haven't watched it already. And but yeah, that's the beauty, and I say this every time, the beauty of real estate is that the person that owns the property and the person that wants to buy the property or rent the property, you guys can make any deal you want regarding financing and those kinds of terms. And so you can get as creative as you want as long as it suits you. Yeah, please do. And when you do that, like I said, you can make any deal you want. My very first deal, 6-month escrow with the right to move into the property. I moved in there. I lived there. I had my business in that property. And in 6 months, in the 6 months that I was there, I was no longer having to rent a building for my cabinet shop, and I was no longer, renting an apartment or a part of a house from somebody to live in. So I consolidated that savings every month, and then at the end of the 6 months, boom, that was my down payment. And then I was paying kind of a big mortgage for me, but it was a mortgage that I could handle because I was living in the place. It was a combination of my residential cost to live somewhere and the cost of renting a business place. And then eventually, after I lived there long enough and I started making more money in real estate and everything else, then I moved out of my little building, and I bought several nice homes, and I had a big, beautiful home back then too, with a big pool like this too, and I was only 25 years old. It was pretty cool. Let's see. Do you have to explain to the person that you rented from that you may re-rent property? Yes, you do, and here's why. You have to have permission to sublet a property, meaning if I'm going to rent this from you, my contract is with you to rent it from you. If I don't have it expressly wrote in there that I have the right to sublet or re-rent to someone else, then I don't have the right. So you could do it, but you'd be taking a chance, But the other thing is like what I did is I got me a 5-year lease, first a 3-year lease, then I pushed it into a 5-year lease, then a 7-year lease, because I didn't want this lease to ever end. And my rent went from $3,000 to $5,000 that I was paying, but my rent that I was charging went from $20,000 to $25,000. So it was it was just kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, you can't just do it. You're not entitled to do it. You have to you would have to get permission to sublet. But you don't have to give them the conditions. You don't have to tell them the details of how much. So, all right, Garrett, do you ever ask for owner financing on a deal that's listed with a broker? If so, how do you arrange broker commission. Well, Garrett, I've done many owner finance deals, and of course I always try to find out if there's a mortgage on the property at all, and so yeah, it doesn't matter. Any property I ever go look at to buy, I always want to know if there's a mortgage on it, because if there's not a mortgage on it, then maybe the owner will take owner financing. And even if there is a mortgage on it, I want to know if that mortgage might be assumable. But just because there's owner financing, that doesn't mean they're going to 100% owner finance it. So I would still expect to pay enough down that it's going to cover the commission. You're going to have to pay a commission. So chances are, if there's a broker involved, I guarantee you, he's going to be lobbying for you to put enough money down that they can walk away with their commission. Now, and I've done this a little bit, you can sometimes make a deal where the broker will take his commission in the form of a second trust deed. But you might have to sweeten the deal and say, hey, you're going to get a $10,000 commission, I'm going to make it a $15,000 note, or something like that. Or maybe you don't have to do it at all. Maybe he's just so glad to have the deal sold, he'd be happy just even with the note, and then he can sell that note at a discount and still get most of that money back anyways. But so yeah, like I said, there are no rules, just whatever you can make happen and get people to agree to. But chances are, if a guy's got a good property, wants to sell, and there's owner financing, then they are going to, they're going to want to see their commission. So like I said, owner financing doesn't mean zero down. So, and I think you know that. So, but that's my experience. Yep, you're welcome. So we are getting close to an hour. We've got about 8 more minutes here. Let's just go ahead and do another 8 minutes. And so anybody else got anything out there, anything interesting or any off topic? I don't care. Anything you can think of. I'm kind of tired, so I'm running out of gas here, and I'm not sure what I can think of. Looks like all of us are tired. Well, I'll tell you what. Keep this app in mind. If you just let me talk about this. Please join my Twitter, FlipAnythingUSA. Okay, so that's my Twitter account, FlipAnythingUSA. I got my boys working on it, and they'll feel good if they see that number climb, because that's what I'm paying for them to do, is get more people on my Twitter. So if you haven't, please go on to Twitter and join, and there'll be some cool stuff, more announcements going through on there. And I've been kind of also kind of going back and grabbing some of the, like my re-renting video and certain videos that if somebody asks me a question here and I'm thinking, man, that's already been answered, I'll go back and I'll retweet a video that I did 3 months ago. And like I said, I think it's always good. I've always been a fan of reading. I'll buy a book. I tell people I'll buy a book and I'll try to read through the whole thing. But sometimes only one chapter really turns me on, or sometimes maybe only one paragraph in the whole book does something for me. And I still think that makes the book a deal. Anything that gives you interest or drives you, helps motivate you, is good. But also, I think, going back and watching a video that helped motivate you, watch it again, and you'd be surprised. You'll pick up something that you didn't pick up before. And it's even funny, I actually enjoy watching some of my own videos over again, because it just kind of, it's fun to remember some of the deals I've done, but also when you're trying to teach people, you're kind of re-educating yourself, and because you're making that person dig in and try to explain to them why you do certain things, and even while you're explaining it, you're kind of realizing, yeah, I guess this is why I do this, and it just kind of reaffirms. They'll say the best way to learn is to teach somebody. And there is definitely some truth to that, and I know that from just teaching people how to do certain things, not just real estate stuff, but anyways, it's all good, and I appreciate the questions. And, if you guys think of a question, if you got something you run into, man, write it down in your smartphone and just save it for this Wednesday night. I don't know that I'm going to do it. I don't even know. Is it 4th of July Wednesday? I'm not even sure. But I should be in California. Should be. I'll try. I'll definitely do something. And but I may be doing this podcast from California next week, or whatever we call this streaming thing. But yeah, definitely, throw your questions, and you can actually write your questions down even in here, and then, it'll come up to me, and then I'll see it, and then I'll circle back to it in the next video. Or I'll try if I can remember. So let's see. Yeah, Tony, he watched the Money Women Cars video. And over, haha. Well, you know what? Here's funny. Well, and I think I told you. I think I did tell this in the video. I haven't watched that one twice, but Mowoca, M-O-W-O-C-A. M-O-W-O-C-A. That was my email for the longest time. Mowoca at whatever, yahoo.com or something like that. But the M-O was money, the W-O was women, and the C-A was car. Mowoca. So money, women, cars. And because that's what I was really most important to me back when I was 19, 20 years old. And of course, even the internet wasn't even around then. So, but I guess it must have been pretty important to me even when I was in my late 20s. Ha ha. Yeah, no, it was a form of Native American, but not not the one you're thinking of. Yeah, Mowoca, money, women, cars. I do explain that. I think. But yeah, Mowoca was actually my email at one time, and it was actually the name of a company too. I think one of my LTDs or whatever corporations. I can't remember now. But anyways, guys and gals, I appreciate you watching. Really do. And, I would like nothing better than for you guys to make some money. And I know Chaz he's making some money out there. And I know a couple people are starting to make things happen. And that's how you do it. Don't take any chances. It's just math. But you do have to take steps. Some people are just paralyzed. And like I said, you watch that one too. It's very brief, but it's very true. I think I wrote the 4 roadblocks, okay? And it's about as rough as any of my videos go, but, not super slick. But those 4 roadblocks, and, procrastination and fear and, that fear of failure, that'll really get you. Don't be afraid of failing, but just be really careful. And, but because fear keeps people from doing a lot of things, and you know what, you got to weigh it out. What if you fail not making some money? Just don't bet it all. Don't bet it all. Don't put yourself where you can lose everything. That's silly. That's foolish. But certainly, you can bet a little bit. If you want to call it betting. People think, oh, you're a risk taker. I don't feel like a risk taker. I really don't. It's math. I know I'm buying this because it's worth more than I'm paying for it. That's not a risk taker. That's just a businessman making a good decision. And that's what you all got to be. You got to be businessmen or businesswomen, whatever. That business mindset. You're in this business to make money. And, you just don't, and like I say, if you're in your 50s or 40s, 60s, whatever, man, don't lose heart. You can make a deal and make yourself $50,000. And 50 grand goes a long ways, in making things a lot easier for you. And so, like I said, and it can happen really quick. You can make 50, 100 grand, 200 grand, and all in a very short amount of time. I already showed you guys these 2 houses that I bought. I think there's probably 300 grand there now. Lake House, I think, is going to be an easy $200,000 profit. Maybe more. So, and that was all live since I started this blog, and I walked you through it. And that's another one. Watch that video when I found the lake house. All the ones I made, a couple of them, I was so excited. because I was so excited. I was going, man, I hope I can repeat the success on my channel that I tell everybody that I've done, and then boom, I did it, and then I did it again, and so you'll feel confident. You'll know that there's always going to be another deal. And the closer you get to a deal, it just means you just got that close. And then you're going to get a deal, you're going to lose a deal, you're going to get a deal. But what you'll realize pretty soon is, man, there is a deal. I mean, there's thousands of them in the USA every single day. But you can't be everywhere. But there's probably tens or hundreds every other day in your own town right now. And those are the ones you're looking for. Those are the ones you got to concentrate on getting. And those are the ones that are going to take you to the next level. So, hey, it's more than an hour. It went quick. It's always fun. So thanks for watching. And, Flip Anything USA, please subscribe. Please get on my Twitter channel. And when you go in and comment, man, please remind other people to do it too. Maybe if when you guys comment, maybe, I don't know, advocate people, go get on my Twitter channel or subscribe. More people that know I'm going to give away the app, maybe, because we have a lot of people watching that aren't subscribed, and that's cool and that's fine. But man, subscribe. It makes me feel like, and believe me, I don't never feel like I'm wasting time. I don't care if I'm talking to one guy. I do like it. And I've got an Instagram too, but I don't know. Anyways, whatever it takes. If you can share it, that'd be great. But I'm going to say good night, and again, I hope everybody has a great night and a great week, and great 4th of July. Really great time, I think, in America right now. I think really we're kind of getting back on track, and I think we're going to start making some money. The economy is going to be better. I think there's a lot more opportunities coming. So that's it for me, and have a good night. And you guys, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Good night.